Hi guys, and welcome to another Divi theme video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Well, we're continuing on with our little hover effects series here, and we've got a little icon. As you can see, it's in the middle of our page down the bottom there. It's fixed position, so it's staying exactly where we put it right there. And when we hover over it, it's going to pop up into a little contact form like that. And when we roll off, it's going to pop back down the bottom again. And like I say, it's fixed position, so wherever we go, it's going to stay pretty much right there. Really easy to do. We're not doing any extra coding or using any extra plugins for this today. So let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is enable the Visual Builder. Now with fixed position modules and things, sometimes it doesn't let you hover over. We're okay with it today, it's letting us hover over it fine, but if you have a problem getting to it, hit the little purple button, go to wireframe mode, little icon on the left there, and you can get to it that way. So I've got my little blurb and contact form in a row. I've just put it on the bottom right here. So let's scrap this row and we'll start from scratch. So I'm going to add a new row. Inside I'm going to put a little blurb module. I'm going to put a single column. I'm going to put a little blurb module so we can use the icon as an envelope. Let's switch back to desktop now that we're in here. Okay, for a title, contact us, or whatever you want your little form title to be up there. I really don't want any content there. If there's dummy content in there, just delete it unless you particularly want it in there. If we scroll down, it'll be right on the bottom there. There it is right there. Not really impressive at the moment. Image and icon. I want to use an icon. And let's find a little sort of envelope or mail or send type icon. Obviously, whatever you want to use. There we go. We've got a little envelope icon there. And there it is. Okay. Move this so we can see what's going on. Link wise, I don't really want this to link anywhere, so I'm going to leave that just as it is. Background wise, I'm going to leave that for the time being too. So what I'm going to do now is go over to my design and just do a quick design for these. Image and icon. Well, I want it to be a sort of light blue color that's going to stand out on top of everything else we've got going on here. Something like that will do fine. Okay, and you can choose to circle the icon if you want to. Let's do that. Hit the circle icon button, choose the color that you want the circle to be. If you want to show a border, you can do it right here by flipping that switch on. And I'm going to make that border the same color as the icon, so I'm going to right click, copy icon color, and I'm simply going to right click and paste it in our border color here. There we go. Now you can take it up or down in size if you want to, using icon font size here. It's not too bad. I'll take it down a little bit. Something like that. However you want yours, obviously. Okay, and the only other thing we need to do to this is the title there. Title text just down below here, still on the design tab. I'm going to put it in the middle, and I'm just going to make it a bit bigger. There we go. Okay, we're done with that. I'm going to add a simple contact form under this. Hit the little plus to add a new module. There's the contact form right there. And by default, it puts in name, email, message. You can add new fields by hitting the button here. You can give it a title if you want to, but I've already done that with my blurb module. Success message, you put in whatever it is you want to say when they've successfully sent the message. Submit button, if you don't want it to say submit, you can have it say whatever you want. Say send or whatever. Now the important one is the email. This is where this contact form is being sent to. So you want to put your email address in there, myemail.com, whatever email address you want your form sent to. You can redirect if you want to. I'm happy for it to just pop up with message sent. Spam protection, we've got basic here, which is they have to put in that 15+9 or whatever sum comes up right there before they can send it. That will stop bots using it pretty much. And you can use Google Capture if you want to by turning that on and putting an API key in and what have you. But I'm going to leave mine just like that. The only other thing is I might want to style that button slightly differently. Close up our spam protection. And let's go over to our design tab. And here's button. Now if you want to use custom styles, you can do so right here. Button text size, I'll leave that as it is. Background, I'm going to paste that background color in again that we just used. Paste the icon color. Now we've got a blue button. Don't think I want a border on there, so I'm going to take that down to 0. And we want to make the text color white or whatever color you want. That works for me, that's absolutely fine. And you can choose an icon below if you want to, or you can turn it off here also. Okay, so there's our little contact section, but we need to turn it into a little pop-up now. So what I'm going to do is save my changes there. We're all done with our form. I'm going to go into the row that it's actually sitting in. I'm going to make this row full width by going over to the design tab, sizing. Now we're going to switch a bit of this around in a minute, so I'm going to have 100% in the width, and I'm also going to have 100% in the max width. As you can see, it's now stretching from one side to the other. I'll make sure our content's in the middle here. Now I'm going to go down to spacing just below it. I'm going to give it sort of 20% padding each side so it pulls it in a bit. So here's our padding. And let's do this just on the hover. So padding, I'm going to roll over, and this is common to most Divi modules. Hover over the dark writing. You will see some little icons here. If it's got a little arrow, click on it, and you can set a desktop and a hover state. Desktop, I don't want any padding. Hover state, it's going to be kind of like we see it there, but I'm going to say 25% each side. In fact, let's take that down to 20%. Just put in 20 and type the percentage in there. Hit the chain, it'll do the other side. So we've got it back in the middle there. And we've got a full width row. That's great. And when we're not hovering over it, it's not got any padding. But when we're not hovering over it, we want it to be down at the bottom here, and we only want it to be about as wide as our icon there. So let's close this up. We'll go back into sizing. This time I'm going to hover over where it says width there, so the little icons appear. I'm going to hit the little arrow. Okay, for desktop, I only want it to be about 100 pixels wide, maybe a bit more. I'm going to say 120 pixels. Just put in the 120, and then px. That's fine. It's squished all this down, but we're going to get rid of that in a minute. And I'm going to do the same thing for the height. So I'm going to copy that, Control C, 120 pixels. I'm going to go down to height, and again roll over, hit the arrow because I just want this height on desktop. There we go. So it's only that tall now. Probably take it even down a bit smaller. Let's try 100 pixels. Yeah, that's absolutely fine, just like that. And that's our footer at the bottom there, so we're only going to see this much of it. Now I'm going to get rid of this by turning the overflow off, but I want to make sure desktop height 100 pixels, hover height, I want to make sure that that's auto. There we go. So when we hover over it, it can be whatever height it needs to be. Okay, let's go back up to our width, make sure that that's fine, that's great. Now what we need to do so that we don't see all this when we're not hovering on it is we'll go over to our advanced tab, going to go down to visibility, and I'm going to set the horizontal and vertical overflow to hidden. There we go, and we're just left with our little icon there. Now it looks like I've gone a bit short on it, so I've got to give it a bit more so we're not clipping the bottom off there. So let's go back to our sizing, and that'll be for the height. Here's the height, 100 pixels. Let's take it back to 120 perhaps. Yeah, that's going to work perfectly. Okay, so we've got that when we're not hovering on it, and we've got this when we are hovering on it. So we've got to set the width to be back how we wanted it on the hover state. So the width needs to be 100% or 100 VW. If you do 100 VW, it'll be 100% of the viewable width of whatever device they're doing. VW is viewable width, or you could use percent, that would work. I probably wouldn't use pix for this because for different devices that won't work too well. So we've got that on hover, and we've got that when we're not hovering. Now the next thing we do, because if I roll up that's going to disappear down there, we want it to stay where it is at all times, even when we're scrolling down. So let's go over to our advanced tab. I'm going to go down to position, and we're going to change it to fixed. Usually it'd be set on default. Not quite sure what that's on relative today, but usually it'd be on default. I'm going to put it to fixed. Sort of disappeared at the top there. I want it bottom middle right there. So as you can see, it's behind our little X right there. That's absolutely fine there. You can give it vertical offset if you want to. Bring it up by just a little bit maybe. There's a little bit of a gap between it and the bottom there. That's fine. Great. So let's see what's going to happen now. I'll go back to my design. Let's go to our spacing and let's put it on desktop when we are hovering. Okay, it's behind all our modules there, which we don't want. We want it to be in front of our modules there. And we want to give it a background to the row so that it covers things. So first things first, let's bring it in front. We do that with position again with the Z index. Just drag it up until it pops up in front. If you have a problem, go into whatever's behind it and go into the row and set it to 1. Some of these will be set to 0 for their Z index. But if you flip it from 0 to 1, for some reason it works. So make sure that this row with our call to action has got a higher number than the section you want to roll over. Okay, so it looks like we need to give it a background because we're seeing the form and the icon and everything, but it's got no background there. It's just sitting on top of the other content. So while we're in the row, let's give our row a background, but just on hover. So again, going to hit the little arrow to bring up desktop state when it's like that. Don't want a background on there. When we hover over it, let's give it a white background. And as you can see, that's covered that up and it's rolling on top of everything behind there, which is great. If you wanted to, you could click on that white and bring the opacity down slightly and you'd see the website behind there scrolling. But I'm happy with the solid white on mine. So I'm going to put that like that. Now the next thing I actually want to do, now let's slow this down a little bit. Default time for it to go from desktop state to hover state is 300 milliseconds with Divi. I'm going to slow it down slightly for a bit of drama. So to do that, go over to your advanced tab in the row settings we're in at the moment. Transitions. Transition duration. I'm going to slow it down about 3/4 of a second. And I'm going to use ease in and ease out for this today. Let's save this and have a look at what we've got. We'll save the draft or publish if you're ready. And let's exit the Visual Builder. There's our little icon, as you can see in the middle of the page at the bottom there. As we roll down, it's staying where it is. We can go beside it and move our mouse and it's not going to do a whole lot because we've given it a width of 120. But when we actually hover on the icon itself, it's going to pop out into our little contact form. And they can click on it, fill it out, do the little capture and send it when they're ready. When you hover off of it again, it'll pop down to where it was. Really easy to do, and that's a nice little feature to have on your site. So I hope you've enjoyed this today and found it useful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, ring the bell, comment, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Once again, this has been Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.